Why sons of God? Here, if you've been here more than one day, you'll realize we say sons of God. We do not say children. We do not say sons and daughters, or well, sometimes we say heirs. But what's the deal with that? I mean, all the other churches have their lingo. We seem to have ours. Does it really make a difference?
So when I first heard sonship and your son, obviously I was new to it because I was back in 2012, and I questioned it. I'm like, well, they keep saying I'm a son. I'm like, but like in my mind, I was questioning it, but within, the Lord always said, listen. And I'm like, okay, so to my mind, it didn't make sense, but to my heart, he would always say, listen. And he would always draw me back. And I'm like, I mean, it was a small little church in the garage, right? So I'm like, why am I going there? I mean, there's so many better churches, but the Lord would always be like, no, I need you to go there. I need you to go there. He was constantly pushing me to go there. And I said, okay, I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a chance. I don't know, but I'll give it a chance. And because at this time I was also engaged in a couple other churches that I found that my soul at the time really found useful. But the Lord was really wanting me to plug into Celebration, and he was very diligent about it. And the word sonship came up a lot, and I didn't really quite understand it, so I had the Lord break it down to me. And he told me, and then I understood it more even from us talking about it. Sonship means it's a position of the Spirit. It's your spiritual man. That's who you are in the Spirit. You are a son, neither male nor female, nor Greek nor Jew. And that started to make sense to me, to my carnal mind, in the instance of starting to renew my mind, when I started to understand sonship is a spiritual being. That's where I am, and that's where I'm most effective as a son. If I am anything else other than the son, I actually am in self, and I'm aware of self. So when I'm more aware of my identity as a son, I'm actually positioned in him, in that spiritual realm, rather than being so tied down to the flesh. And after I got that understanding and that clarification from the Father, when I would hear daughter or sister or things like that, I would get offended because I felt like they're putting me in the flesh. I don't want to be in the flesh. So I started to actually feel very offended when anybody else would say, oh, but you're a daughter. I'm like, no, I'm not. A daughter is not, I'm not a daughter. I'm a son. Because a daughter, I identified with the flesh, right? Because that's who you are according to the flesh, a female. But according to the Spirit, you're neither male nor female. You don't have any of that. And when you know that you are not neither male nor female, you're actually free, and you're not tied to the laws of a man or a woman or whatever it is. You're a spiritual being with all the power of God living and dwelling in you, and you're full then. So the sonship is the most, it's such a powerful word because it takes you right into your spiritual self, right? You're not in this carnal man form, but you're actually in the Spirit, and you're aware, and your mind set on things above. It starts to transform the physical even here. So sonship is huge.
Positionally, like she said, child is, first off, it's an inaccurate translation. The Bible's very short. So you get into segregation. Well, you get into your flesh and you say, well, I'm not a male, so I must make this translation fit my perspective, because women are included too. But the reason that the Father calls you his son is an inheritance. That's the definition of a son. You are next in line. When the Hebrews, the daughter got given away for like 4 goats or a plot of land or something like that. She was an investment, to where the son, his birthright, was everything that the Father had. And so when Jesus, his only son, who was the only inheritor of that birthright, died to make many more sons, we all became one in that first son, the direct line, the direct descendant of God, the Father, and all of his kingdom and everything that he has to offer. So that position of being a son is a position of inheritance, everything, to rule and to reign with him. All of that was just never set up in the kingdom while there is no male or female. Even as the Hebrews would identify, or the Greeks on earth, this would be unheard of. Okay, yeah, sure, men, we're created in God's image, but women is created in our image. You see that separation? We have the inheritance, we're going to lead, but not necessarily them. So identifying as a son, which is what the Father calls you are, whether you're male or female here on this earth or not, is a positional. You are the prince to the kingdom, I mean, everything that he has is yours. He shares everything with you because you are his son. You make him proud. You are his birth. You are his birthright. You understand? That's a little bit different spin, but same thing.
Very good, very good. Yeah, I liken it to the, if you want to get to the place where he says, I and the Father are one, the Father is greater than I, but they're one, you and I are one, I pray you have the same relationship. Basically what he's pointing towards is, I pray you have this same position that I have, where I know I am absolutely one with the Father, power, authority, one mind and one accord, and the place of sonship, like they were both saying, just takes you out of those fleshly identities. I've run into it going to churches where they're like, women aren't allowed to preach. What do you think about that? And I always ask them, what is their identity? If their identity is of a woman and theirs is of a man, well, the Bible's pretty straightforward, unfortunately, on that, right? But if they know who they are in the Spirit, I don't have a problem with anybody preaching. I mean, it says what in the end days, the babes are going to speak. So it's just, there's always a word to be given from anybody who's led by the Spirit.